Sorry for the delay, everybody. I am out of town. Just got a chance to watch the episode right now. So let's cruise through this. We'll just do the same as always. We'll hit couple by couple, starting with Lindy and Miguel. I like that the very first thing for this couple was Lindy admitting that he was the problem. Like, we all heard that, right? Like, there's no take backsies on that. We heard Miguel say that, he was the problem on the retreat. He was the one who caused those issues. And you know what, Miguel, might be one of the first times this season. You're right. You were the one causing those issues. You were the one that caused that entire scene at the retreat, that entire situation, all of it. You were the catalyst. You were the cause. And we called that out last week. But it was very nice to hear Miguel, agree with all of us on that as well. So if you ever describe your relationship as a constant fight, get out of that relationship. I believe that was Lindy who said that, and that's not what a happy anything is. It's not what a happy, like, if you have a friend and you just meet up with that friend and always just fight with them the entire time, like, that's not a healthy relationship. So uh, why would a marriage be any different? Like, if you are constantly fighting or feel like your marriage is a constant fight, that just doesn't seem right to me, because you're supposed to be getting your happy ever after, not your angry ever after. And I don't like that one bit. Miguel's apology was that he wasn't mad, he was just annoyed, and that he wasn't as mad as she perceived. That doesn't really feel like an apology to me. It was like his apology was like, well, you just were wrong about what happened. I'm really sorry that you were wrong. It's not an apology, and Lindy deserved a lot more. And I'm at this point, I'm really starting to see that their approach to pretty much everything is in complete opposition. Like, even when I feel like they're trying to say the same thing on certain topics, that they come at it from such a different viewpoint that it becomes opposition, and that is just not healthy for them. And to me, points out that they will just not work long term. And then from here, we got back into the last name argument. A lot of this episode felt like we were going back to old problems for all of our couples. And this was like a good time for that. Like, Lindy's insurance arrived in the mail, and immediately they started arguing about the last name thing. And honestly, I think you should, like, not saying you shouldn't take people's last names in marriage, but take somebody's last name after knowing them for, what are we at, 7 weeks here, is a little silly. Like, Miguel, just have the conversation, see if she's even remotely open to it, and then just see what happens over time. Like, maybe in a year's time, Lindy's comfortable with that and changes her mind about the entire situation. But the way Miguel has been approaching that all season long, of course, she's not going to want to take his last name. And then we jumped into we jumped into some Dungeons and Dragons. And I was kind of figuring that at some point this would happen this season, because, like, they've basically built up Miguel's entire personality as he plays Dungeons and Dragons. And I think most people are more than just one activity they do, but seems like that is a lot of what we were sold on for Miguel. But we jumped into the game, and all of a sudden the storyline felt a little bit too on the nose for what was happening all around. There was like a marriage gone wrong, and one person marrying a demon without knowing that it was a demon, and just kind of thinking, yeah, maybe he should have just been like, yeah, dragon's attacking the town, let's go fight the dragon. Not had some marriage narrative built into a game within the show. Seemed yeah, just a little bit too much on the nose for my liking. So then after that, Lindy went and talked to her friend. Miguel went and talked to his friend, and we learned that it's fine for Miguel to talk about his relationship with other people. It's not okay for Lindy to do the exact same thing. And that has kind of been echoed repeatedly this season. Like, we look back to Morgan and Ben, like Morgan, who clearly not a person ready for marriage, felt that Ben should not be allowed to talk to other people about their relationship, which is completely ridiculous, because sometimes you just need you need to vent, or you need to have an outlet that is not your partner. And you know, that doesn't even just extend to relationship. Like, people complain about work all the time, about friends to other friends all the time, and you know, it's not even a negative thing. It's just that, like, sometimes you just don't feel comfortable saying something to another person, and you know, either you want to vent about it or you want to get advice about it, and there is nothing wrong with that. But for Miguel, you know, just like with Morgan, it's not okay. And really, a lot of that boils down to is we heard Miguel basically say that she was bad mouthing him behind his back. Same with Morgan. Morgan felt like Ben had been bad mouthing her behind her back. And you know, ultimately, I just don't think Morgan and Miguel were either ready for marriage. And you know, honestly, I said it at the start of the season, why didn't those two get paired up anyways? Like Morgan and Miguel, you know, they both had kind of the nerdier sides to them. They both seemed like they were wanting somebody who had those nerdier sides, and then they both don't like their partner talking to other people. So they would have meshed up a lot better than Morgan and Ben, or Lindy and Miguel have this season. Yeah, that's about it for these two. Probably missed a couple points there, but whatever. Let's keep cruising. Kristen and Mitch. Mitch wasn't great with his words this episode. I think that's probably the best way to put it. You know, why did the words single Mitch ever come out of his mouth? Like, he's going to go to a conference and single Mitch is going to come out. That would be a red flag for me if, you know, my wife was going to some conference and was excited for her single version of herself to come out. That's just seems weird to me. And then, you know, the weekend's over, they're driving in the car. He doesn't have the ring on, and puts the ring on and says, well, I guess I'm married again. Mitch, just at this point, just stop. Like, just go be along for the ride with Kristen, especially if you want to stay married, because every time you open your mouth, it seems like you just can't help but put your foot in it. The dog, Luna, crushed it on the surfboard. That might have been one of the best parts of the entire episode. Luna on the surfboard and bobbing around in the ocean. Enjoyed both of those scenes. And then back to the ring stuff. Mitch's excuse for not wearing the ring was quite weak. And that excuse was that he didn't want to have to explain it to people. Like, what is hard about that? Like, you got married. You just say to people, like, yeah, I got married. Yeah, they're going to ask questions. You just say. Like, that seems like a way better approach than just being like, yeah, I'm just going to lie to everybody about our marriage, because that seems healthy. And to me, that also says that he probably still has doubts leading into decision day. And if he's not willing to be open about his marriage, you know, 1 week before decision day, probably says to me that he's potentially thinking about saying no. And yeah, I wouldn't be too happy about that if I was Kristen. She's been kind of amazing with numerous terrible situations with Mitch this season. And of course, she didn't change at all tonight. Stacia and Nate. So we go see Stasia's home. Gorgeous home. Everything is immaculate. And then they got this tiny fridge. Like, how do they have this beautiful home and then a fridge that you can put like 2 cans of Coke in, and that's it? Everything else spotless. Everything is perfect. Everything is custom to the max. And then we got the tiny fridge. We got the teeny tiny fridge. Kind of just looked hilarious in that beautiful kitchen to me. Yeah, like I said, everything's perfect, and then a fridge doesn't even come close to fitting the hole for the fridge. It's tiny. I think it came up to Nate's kneecaps, but I guess they're gonna move in, and that's what they got. From there, it really seemed like they had very different ideas about raising kids, at least initially. Once we have the entire picture, I don't really think that their approach or their ideas about raising kids are very different. But, Stacia said that she still wants to have fun. She still wants to have fun. And watching it, I absolutely interpreted those comments the exact same way that Nate did. I heard those comments and thought, oh yeah, well, she still wants to travel, she still wants to go on trips, probably still wants to go out and do things with her friends, still probably wants to go out on date nights all the time, when in the very end, when we got the entire picture, was not what she was saying. And Nate was kind of the opposite of that, saying like, yeah, well, I'm going all in on the kids, for those first 3 years. I want to be there nonstop. And really, they were saying the exact same thing, but just in very different ways. And hopefully they can clear that up so that they don't think that there's this vast gap into what both of their expectations are moving forward with their relationship. Lastly, let's jump over to Alexis and Justin. I really just didn't like anything about them today. We had the entire Justin giving his dog away storyline, and we're like days before decision day. Why would this have to happen now? And then Justin was trying to like hang that over Alexis, like, look at this sacrifice that I made for our marriage. And I really, really did not like that. Just wait a week. Don't try to use that as ammunition to try to force Alexis to say yes. And like, that's felt really what it felt like to me, is that he was like, hey, I did this big thing for our relationship, so now you have to stay married to me. Really, really didn't like that. And then we kind of got into this whole he said, she said bit over a conversation they had over text, where Justin asked Alexis if she was going to say yes on decision day. And from Justin's point of view, it made it sound like Alexis was dodging the question. And then like later on, we hear Alexis explain things, and basically she was saying like I'm 90% going to say yes, but I still have a few doubts. That was sort of what she said, and that is not the picture that we got from Justin. So I don't know what the actual reality of that conversation was. Wish it hadn't been over text so that we actually knew what went down between them, because it's a little awkward to basically have these two opposing stories. And when Justin tells his side of the story, I lean towards his side. When Alexis tells her side of the story, I lean towards her side. So, which one is the truth? Which one is reality? We don't know. And then we had this moment where Justin said he's going to take his emotions out of the decision. And I was kind of left scratching my head because isn't the entirety of a relationship emotion? Like, you are falling in love with a person. If you take love out of that equation, of course you're going to say no on decision day. Like, that's ridiculous. If all of our couples, all of our four remaining couples take emotion out of their decision, they're all going to say no on decision day, because it's that emotion, it's those feelings that keep you in that relationship. It's that love that keeps you in that relationship. It's that love that makes you want to be in a relationship in the first place. So now all of a sudden, Justin, he's just a pouty boy over this entire situation, and he wants to say no. Ultimately, they are just a toxic pairing, absolutely, start to finish. And at some point, even if they say yes on decision day, they will end up getting divorced, because, that's just the way it is. You have a toxic couple, they might be good enough to say yes on decision day, but long term, it's just not healthy. It's not good for either party. And these two, it's just an eventual divorce. It's just a matter of if it happens on decision day or not. All right, everybody, that's going to be it for me this week, live from a random hotel room. But as always, thank you so much for watching, and I'm out.